I feel like I'm really pushing it as a Daisy girl here. Like I'm really saying some things that people are probably not going to like, but hey man, no dude, you don't have to put up with that. Hey guys, TazzyPhe here. How is it going? All right, for those of you who don't know me, I am a person who makes YouTube videos and I always wanted a big sister. I always wanted one. And I had the luck of becoming an older sister, not being one. I mean, what? Not having one, but being one. I sometimes get comments from people telling me I'm like their older sister on the internet. So I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to be here. So I asked my audience, I asked my community, my lovely, lovely parasocial, normal, paranorm, whatever relationships. I asked you guys if you needed any big sister advice. So several people messaged me, emailed me, and so I'm going to answer the questions in this video. We're going to talk about things like marriage and in-laws, and we're also going to talk about career and some other fun stuff. That being said, I am not a licensed therapist. I am not a counselor. I am not an MD, PhD, CDFIN. I don't know what I just spelled, but I'm none of those things. I am just a person trying to get through this life. Yeah. I'm going to use the very little amount of information that I have in these emails and whatever it may be. So take it with a grain of salt so that it has a little bit more flavor. I'm also going to summarize some of these because they're really long messages and I don't want to read them out exactly as they are. I'm also keeping people anonymous. So let's go ahead and get into it. So this first one is this young woman who's been married for almost 2 years and she lives with her in-laws and she's having problems. There's just a lot of dysfunction in the family, and between her and the sister, she feels like there's some, you know, she can't really break a barrier with her because I guess the husband and the sister don't get along. She feels like, you know, her efforts, the things that she does around the house, the chores, all that stuff is really not appreciated. And she often gets teased a lot, jokes, but, you know, are they really jokes? Who knows? Her husband is kind of passive. He doesn't do anything or say anything because he's the peacemaker in the family. She also mentioned that her husband doesn't want her to work. So there's that. And then it was an arranged marriage. Her parents and siblings are on her side. Her husband, she says that he's the only son, so he can't live in a different house apart from his parents. And the mother-in-law is a breadwinner. There was an inconsistency in income previously, and now her husband does have a full-time job. So these are the things that she shared with me. And so I'll get to her actual question. But she asked, am I not supposed to be happy in marriage so that I can gain reward in afterlife? Do I have to suffer this much until my last breath? I constantly feel degraded and invisible in my in-laws' environment. I just can't cope with the different atmosphere at all. What is your advice to me, and how relatable are my feelings to others or someone you know? Okay, so my first thought, answering the question, I'm going to say no. Like, I feel like sometimes people say that to other people. They want them to stay in a certain situation, so they say that. They're like, you'll get rewarded in the afterlife, when they don't actually have to stay in those situations. That is something I don't agree with, because yes, overall in life is hard. Doesn't matter how much money you have, how much freedom you have. Everybody suffers in this life. That is part of the human existence. That is part of being human. But I feel like sometimes this part of it, where people, you know, are addressing that they're miserable, and we ignore their mental health and we ignore all those things and just say, yeah, you have to suffer because, just because, or we'll say because you'll be rewarded in the afterlife. This is how you keep people trapped. I just don't agree with that. So that's to answer your question. I'm just going to say no. Okay. No. But getting to the other stuff. Now, it sounds like you're in an environment, with my limited knowledge, that is very dysfunctional. People have their own problems in the house, which happens, you know, as families grow older. That happens. Things with siblings, you know, things go bitter. It happens. People don't always have happy family life. And I made a video before this where I talk about living in an immigrant household as an adult. But you may not be an immigrant. You might be living in India or Pakistan. I'm not sure. You didn't mention. So that being said, you know, my initial thing would be, I don't think that your husband being the only son means that you can't live down the street. But again, I know that depends on where you live. If you live in the US, if you live in Canada, I would very much advise you and your husband to, even if you don't feel comfortable going far away, just move down the street, find an apartment down the street. You do not have to live with them. So I feel like your husband is also responsible for managing that relationship between you and your in-laws. He should be that buffer in the same way that you should also. Like if your family doesn't like him or if your family makes mean jokes or whatever, it's your responsibility to like check them on that. That's my opinion. There's something in your message that I want to address, and I think it's really unfair to you. And that is that you should be allowed to have an out of the house thing. And you should be allowed to work, because if you're in that environment, if you guys are required to live in a toxic environment where it is really deteriorating your mental health, if you've only been married for not even 2 years yet, like you're just on the beginning, you should have something outside of the house where you don't have to think about all of that 24/7. That's not fair to you. Whatever it is, you should have your space. I don't know if that's helpful, but that's how I feel. Salam Tasneem, I'm currently getting to know someone for marriage and I have so much anxiety about it all. He generally does seem like a great guy, Allahumma barik, but how do I know that he's the right person for me? I'm still young, so I don't know how to hold my expectations to have a truly amazing partner, but also when knowing to give a leeway to human error. I feel like the whole process of being in a relationship or talking to anybody can be anxiety inducing, and it's anxiety inducing because it's exciting, but there's also all this fear of what could happen. I would just say sit with yourself for a little bit. I know it's hard to do, but just try to make sure you're not like dismissing any major red flags. I think we all get anxious and anxiety, and the thing with love in general, love, relationships, marriage, you have to take a risk. That's just life. You know, you can't always just play it safe. So your question is, how do I know if he's the right person for me? The way that you know that somebody is the right person for you is you know what you need and what you want. And sometimes you don't know that until you're actually in the relationship. Sometimes all that stuff unfolds. But I would say just really pay attention to how he treats you, how he reacts to things. Don't dismiss your core values or like be like, oh, it's not that important because he has A, B, and C. You have to understand your core values and what his core values are. And if those are in alignment, then you're good. There's always anxiety. There's always a risk when you get into a relationship, and you have to take those risks to, you know, have a great reward, right? But yeah, I would say just focus on core values. That's what you should be doing. Hi, Tazzy. I'm 26 years old from South Africa and recently got a big job opportunity in the UK. However, being a brown girl, I've never lived away from home and I've never been out of the country. I'm so scared and I just don't know if it's the right move for me. Help. My advice to you would be to do it. You will feel worse if you never try. That's my opinion. What's the worst that you're gonna do? You're gonna come back. It's not like if you leave, you can never go back. Is that the case? If it is, then I don't know. But if that's not the case, do it. You gotta face your fears and it will make you a stronger person. Yeah, I think you should just do it. That's my opinion. I just always give people that advice, but you know, you'll know if it's the right move for you. And if it's not meant to happen, it's not going to. Like I remember I was gonna go to a certain college and then it didn't happen. I really thought I was going to go there, and like last minute I went to a different college. So whatever's written for you is going to happen. All right, next one. I have so many questions to ask, but I'd love to get your input on this one. I'm currently a college student in the STEM field and am contemplating what to do with my life. There's more money going into questionable but explicitly haram fields such as military defense, genetic engineering, stock trading, petroleum, etc. When it comes to finding a job, how do you find a career that is suitable with our ethics as Muslims? Much love. All right, so I would say my opinion on this one. This is a good question. I think that it has changed over the years. I used to be influenced a lot from what other people said to me, and I would let go of big opportunities because I just was like, oh, this is haram, that's haram. And the longer that I have been in corporate America, the longer that I've been alive, the longer that I've done YouTube videos and interviewed people and just kind of, I don't know, just broaden my horizons, I would say. There's so much that you can do with your STEM degree. And I think sometimes we write off certain companies. I'm not saying that, you know, you should go into military defense or genetic engineering or stock trading or petroleum. Like there's a myriad of other things you could do. So I would say like, don't think that way first. Think the other way. Right now you're thinking in a restrictive mindset. You shouldn't think that way. You can narrow those things down as you get your degree and progress, and you will know whether companies are the right fit for you or not when you're interviewing. I feel like right now it's too early to make that decision and to say, well, to hell with STEM because I don't know where it will, lead me. There's so many jobs. There's so many things that you can do. Just don't limit yourself. That's what I would say. And the ethical part of it will become clear to you as you move forward. Until you get to that stage where you're even applying for jobs, that's the stage at which you look up all these things and you care about those things. But I will say, don't just write everything off at this point in time. Go in with an open mind and understand that the world and companies and everything is so complex and intertwined that you'd actually be surprised at which companies are doing things that I'll give you an example. Okay, I'll give you a major example. How many Desi people, I don't know if you're Desi or not, but I will say in the Muslim community that I grew up in, or with Desi people, they are obsessed with making their children doctors or engineers or lawyers. Do you think that those fields are void of unethical behavior? Absolutely not. Give me a break. They're not going to go into that and say that's explicitly haram. Well, there are a lot of haram things that people do in those fields, like a lot. So, and really questionable things. So just going back to my original point, I just think that you should have an open mind. And once you get to that point, it will be made clear to you. And that's how I really, really feel. So I hope that helps. And I'm only saying that because this used to happen to me where I would be working for like a television company and, I'd be told like they have adult film channels. So how can you make your money that way? And I'm like, I'm not working on adult film channels. Like what? You know what I mean? So you can play that game with anything. You can play that game with literally everything. So, I think you should focus more on, do I like STEM? And take this time to research and shadow people and really understand, do internships, see what you like and what you don't like. So that's my opinion on that. Assalamu alaikum, Tazzy. My question for you is how to limit problems between your older sister and how to maintain a good relationship with each other. Also, how do you still be close with your sister when she's married and lives outside the house? I don't know how to answer this one because everybody has their own relationship with their siblings and it's complicated because everybody can have different personalities. But I think the way that you stay close is technology. These days, it's so easy to FaceTime, call, just don't give up on those things, and limiting problems. I think it's not specific enough for me to understand what you mean by that. So when you say limit problems, I don't really know how to answer that, I just feel like you both have to make effort. It's just making effort is what it is. And, you should make trips out to see each other and you guys should make trips to go to other cities or abroad and, just keep that spark there. So that would be my advice. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Tazzy. I'm 27 years old, going on 28 in a month, and I'm so painfully single. There aren't many Muslim men in our community. So I've been trying for almost 2 years to find a partner on Minder, aka now Salams. Okay, I've just remembered a clip from one of my other videos. So I've been trying for almost 2 years to find a partner on Minder, aka now Salams. I've connected with some men on there, but ultimately nothing panned out. I've gotten so frustrated that I deleted the app altogether last week. I know you've talked about your relationship and relationships in general in the past, but I'm coming to you seeking advice on whether I should be worried or not. If my dating pool is the general American population, I wouldn't be worried about my age. But I feel like within the Muslim community, especially Pakistani, the older a woman gets, the less desirable they become. And so she's talking about how she's seeing that through the apps, as she's getting older, and even with the suitors that are proposing to her, it's just getting slimmer and slimmer, I guess. And so she's saying, I'm conflicted because I want things to come at their own pace, but I'm also starting to feel the pressure to find someone ASAP. Otherwise, I'll be an old, wrinkled, unmarried raisin in the eyes of aunties and potential suitors. I also wonder if this is my own fault. Am I being too picky for not wanting to talk to a man who's in his 30s? Am I looking in the wrong places for a potential fiance? All right, so for this one, there was a lot in that. And I will say that I was going to make a video about this, but okay, again, I don't know enough to answer the question of whether you're being too picky. I don't know because I haven't seen you or your life. But sometimes the bar is on the floor. So I'm trying not to be biased, but I would have to say, if I'm going with my bias, I would say no. Don't lower your standards and you're not being picky. I think that it's really tough for anyone. I don't think it's just tough for people in the Muslim community. I think it's everybody who deals with these issues. I think we do have the specific challenge of culture, which reduces our ages a little bit or speeds up our aging process. I mean, I think women still go through this even if they're not Muslim, where they're treated like they're just after a certain age, or the pickings become slim. If I was your older sister, I would say, you are better off single than marrying the wrong person. and getting into a relationship just because, people consider you old or whatever. No. If you know that about yourself, that you don't want to be with someone 10 years older than you, then no, don't do that just because people are pressuring you to do that. If you don't feel like that's what you want, because the thing about someone being significantly older than you is that you have to understand that they're probably in a different phase in life and they want something different than you. Like maybe you want somebody around your age because you want to travel or experience something, and go and do things. And that person at the age of, I can't remember what you said, 27, 26. So that person would be like 35, 36. They probably want children. They probably are kind of done with that part of their life. I don't think that it's wrong for you not wanting that. So I think it's good that you know that about yourself. The hard part of all of this is just not giving into the pressure of everyone around you. And you're not an old wrinkled raisin. You're a creation of God. I mean, that stuff is bullshit. I'm sorry. Like, yes, these are all facts of life. Society treats us a certain way. When you get to a certain age, yes, women are treated a certain way. And, the older you get, the more baggage you have and the more baggage other people have. But, I have friends who have gotten married and divorced and married again, and they found their love of their life the second time. So no, I just don't agree. And like I said, I don't know if you're being too picky because I don't know your specific situation, but I don't think that, it sounds like stuff about yourself. It sounds like you know what you want. So I would say, just inshallah, just wait it out and see what happens. Keep doing what you're doing. Take breaks from it. You don't have to be on the apps all the time. Sometimes things show up in your life when you least expect them. So that's my advice to you as a big sister. I hope that helps. How the heck do you stop basing your worth on productivity and accomplishments? Oh my God. I don't know how to answer this one because that's all I do. I am just like a productivity machine, but I find a lot of joy in it. So I'm like, is there something wrong about that I feel good about myself and life? I don't know. I my answer would be, what's wrong with that? Like, I get when it's toxic and when it's like, I have no worth because I haven't achieved anything in my life, because that puts you in a really, really dark place. But it's not so much about achieving things. It's that your self-worth and self-confidence comes from knowing that you have the ability to tap into things, your strengths, and you appreciate yourself for who you are, like with your strengths and your weaknesses. And when you can optimize those and, be the best version of yourself. Is there something wrong with having value placed on that? And I understand, like, we live in a capitalistic society. So yes, like just being like, I'm only worth something if, I have this job title or whatever it may be. You can be really excited about being able to cook a dish that you tried. You can be really excited about painting something. You can be really excited that you accomplished, like, you watched a tutorial on how to get your stain out of your shirt. That's an accomplishment. Like I think inherently there's nothing wrong with feeling a sense of happiness and excitement and value over being able to like do something. And I think that your question is just part of the human experience. Like, it's not really something I can answer because that's something that I deal with. But as your big sister, I would say that it's not helpful to base your value on accomplishments if they are things that are driven by other people's wants and desires and dreams. Like, I'll give you an example of this. If you are so tuned into what other people are doing and you're just like, this person bought a house, so I need to buy a house. That is the kind of value, like valuing yourself based on accomplishments, that will drive you nuts and will always keep you unhappy. But if it's something like, I really want to make butter chicken today and I want it to turn out good, and you get the ingredients and you watch the videos and you make it and it turns out amazing and you accomplish that and that makes you feel good, like that was something that you desired. That's something that you wanted for yourself. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with having value from that. I think it's a problem when it's like you're comparing your accomplishments to other people's accomplishments. So that's how I'd answer that question. Next, how do I deal with a crazy mother-in-law who always stirs up drama for no reason and will go to any extent to create fights and animosity between my fiance and me, and my fiance and my mom? Okay, I feel like I've already said this before, but I would say that, I guess to answer the question new, okay, if your spouse cannot handle this, if your spouse is not being a good buffer, or if you're not being a good buffer, like you guys are both trying to be buffers between your families and it's not working, here's how you deal with a person who always stirs up drama. The person is being an adult baby, okay? The person wants attention. And what you have to do, you always respect your elders, but listen, you need to not give them attention, okay? If your mother-in-law is stirring up drama, don't feed into it. You can never get yourself at that level. You can't. You cannot, okay? Because that's how you let that person win. You can't. Does that make any sense to you? If I saw a situation where a mother-in-law was always being like that, I would just say, for the sake of your marriage, maybe you guys need to just not talk to her for a little bit. I don't know if your husband would be on board with that, but sometimes like when people act like that, the only way to get through is to not talk to them for a while. So that's my opinion. You got to set those boundaries. I feel like I'm really pushing it as a Daisy girl here. Like I'm really saying some things that people are probably not going to like, but hey man, no dude, you don't have to put up with that. I feel like sometimes in Desi cultures, like people have to value their marriage more. Does that make sense? There's so much emphasis on getting married. There's so much emphasis on a wedding, but there's not as much emphasis as let's put this marriage first. Let's put this above other things and other people's needs, And that's what you should do. All right, next question. How do I fix crippling self-esteem issues? Also, thank you for making a video like this. You're welcome. A big sister here. I would say improving your self-esteem is a process and it takes a lot of time. And it comes from building your confidence on things that you enjoy and that you want to do and discovering yourself. Also, trying new things and being embarrassed. I think being embarrassed also helps a lot with becoming confident because you get over your fear of being embarrassed. So do things. It doesn't have to be everything embarrassing all the time, but do something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone and you'll be surprised at how you come out on the other side of that. But aside from that, I will say, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but things like exercise, art, therapy, put effort into yourself, grow yourself. You're a plant and you need to water yourself. If you're not being watered by others or you weren't watered earlier in life, you have to figure out ways to water yourself. Does that make sense? That's my big sister advice to you. I hope that helps. All right, next one. So this is a long one, but she basically talks about how she has had a really unhealthy relationship with men and she was actually SA'd when she was younger. And so she really dislikes men and she doesn't like the way they approach her. And so she wants to get over this feeling of hating men. It was kind of like a heavy message. So I feel like I'm going to also repeat myself here, but I think that until you're ready to face men, like it's not going to happen by putting yourself in that situation over and over again. Like if you already have that inclination and that feeling that you don't like them, it's because there's something hurting you. There's something inside which you've identified. And I think you have to take the steps to heal yourself. That may be easier said than done. But if your country, because I think this person lives in Europe, if your country or your school, your work has resources where you can, shop around and find a therapist or, really talk to a professional about these issues, because what you have gone through is really, really difficult. And it's something that I don't think that, your average people are going to, I don't want to say average, that sounds bad. I don't think that somebody who hasn't worked with people who have been in a similar situation are going to be able to support you or give you what you need. So I think it would be helpful for you to, seek some professional counsel and, also do the other things that people do to, overcome difficult things in their life. Sometimes talking to somebody, not holding it in, and also, doing those other things like making art. I feel like art is super therapeutic. It really, really is. And it has been for me. I think those are great ways to overcome these feelings, because not all men are horrible monsters and, people who just absolutely are scum of the earth. Like not every man is that. But if you're in that situation where you have those lenses on, it's going to be difficult for you even if you come across somebody who's nice, because you're going to see them from those lenses. And so that would be my big sister advice for you, to work on healing those parts of yourself and, take a break from men. Just keep your distance from them, until you're in a place. Otherwise, I feel like it's always going to be something that's triggering you and like hacking at you, and it'll just make it worse and worse. So That's my big sister advice on that. So this person sent a long message as well. They went through a big breakup. They felt like it's been uncovering low self-esteem and limiting beliefs. And this person has been really like working on themselves. So she would like advice on, you know, how to keep moving forward in the journey. I think that what would be helpful for you is to recognize the people around you who push you forward. So if you have a friend or family, like a sister, mom, whoever, who has really been supporting you, don't feel like you're overburdening them. Lean on them, you know, and they're gonna also help you get through. Also, I would say it sounds like you're already doing the work. So sometimes maybe all you need is just a little bit of encouragement. And so just keeping a good support system, being around people, friends, family who support you is going to help you get through this time. And I think that heartbreak is one of the most painful things that you can go through. And so I bid you badu on that. I don't know what I just said, but I hats off to you. Hijabs off, astaghfirullah, to you for that. Don't be disheartened and keep moving forward, because it does get better on the other side. Okay, so submissions for big sister advice. Getting over the fear of putting content out there, especially if employers see it. There are two different philosophies or schools of thought on this. There are people who think that your employer is going to find, and then there are people who hide it from their employer. You can be either one you want. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? Are you giving away company secrets? Like, here's my advice to you. Just don't do anything that is going to put you in a position where you're going to lose your job. Don't talk about the company. Don't, share things. I had one person at a company who was once trying to argue that, let's say if you're a software engineer and you are a software developer and you work for a software development company and you're a software developer at that company, if you make any content or anything on software development or start your own business on software development, you can get fired for that because you're using what the company has given to you and what they're paying you for, and you're using that intellectual property for your own gain or something. And I was like, that's kind of a stretch, but you never know. I would say, like, if you want to be on social media, if it's like completely separate from your work stuff, you should be fine, unless you're doing things that are like really questionable. I think political things can probably land in that category. So I feel like if you're doing like a political channel, maybe that might get you in trouble, or if you're using something that you do at work or like very work related stuff. But other than that, I mean, there's so many things you can do. So don't let that hold you back. And getting over the fear of it, it's embarrassing. Once you get over the embarrassment of it, you just don't care anymore. That's how I feel. Question for big sister advice video. I really like this guy at uni. I've never talked to him. I think he's Indian. I'm Pakistani. I don't know how to approach him. I sometimes see him in the campus or in the elevator. But it's just impossible to strike a conversation. What should I do? Find him on the internet. How can it be impossible to strike a conversation? You're talking to like the shyest person. You're asking me? I'm horrible for this. But as your big sister, I would say if you're shy in real life and it's impossible for you to do it in real life, the internet, it's a great place. It's a great place for getting a partner. So just shoot your shot, bro. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to cringe for the next 10 years because he left you in red. That's not funny. If you were my little sister, I would like help you like find him on social media. Then I would give you advice on what to do from there. But I don't believe you that it's impossible. Actually, it is, right? Like if you saw him across the thing, you'd be like, hey, I see you all the time. How are you? You have to no, I know what to do. This is what you're going to do. You're going to find his social media. You're going to find a mutual connection. You got to be stealthy. Okay. And then you got to like, kind of do like an episode of The You. Okay. Penn Badgley over here. All right. You got to find the connection. You got to casually bring it up. Oh, he likes to go to Erewhon. He likes to go to Whole Foods. Meet him at Whole Foods. Just casually or like he's holding a Whole Foods bag. Oh, are you a crunchy granola guy? Me too. Do you have a Subaru? Me too. I don't have a Subaru. Don't think that I have a Subaru, guys. I might though one day. Who knows? If I really become all crunchy and granola, it might happen. I did go to school in Boulder. But anyway, that's on a lighter note. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope this was helpful. Big sister gonna go out. I'm hungry. All right. TazzyPhe out. Bye. Also, I forgot to say, if you guys like the hijab, peep the hijab. Okay, this is the color terracotta. Out Hijab sent me some beautiful bamboo woven hijabs. So you can check out the link in the video description for a discount code also if you want to check these out. So yeah. All right, TazzyPhe out. out. Bye. Also use the referral link so that it helps me. Bye.